everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Gio. The NA/VCT Open Qualifiers are fully underway right now, and today I wanted to make a quick video just having a look at a couple of the rounds that we saw yesterday in the game between Luminosity and the Guard. This was a game that I broadcasted on my watch party, and it looked for some time like Luminosity were going to be able to take this game on bind. They were at 12 rounds for what felt like forever, and then the Guard managed to drag it into overtime. And a couple of the last rounds in regulation were really interesting to me because the Guard seemed to have these really strong defenses, especially on the A site on bind, that Luminosity just really struggled to get through. So let's have a look. So this is the round that I wanted to start here with, is round number 23. So you can see that Guard have cut off A long. They've got the Viper's Pit, they've got the Nebulas there. And Luminosity is stacking up here in showers, presumably to open things up with the Cosmic Divide. They all want to be on the same side as the Cosmic Divide. And what this will essentially do is mean that Heaven is the only place that has a direct line of sight onto where they're looking to push in. Now, we saw that they engaged in with the drone and with the Trailblazer as well. They just want to be scoping out the site, having an idea of where everyone is right before they pop the Cosmic Divide. Now, the ideal scenario here, of course, is to just use a gravity well up in Heaven, because then you can root Sire player down into his spot, get rid of him, and you pretty much have that entire side of the Cosmic Divide to yourself. But that doesn't work in this scenario. They do try to use the gravity well, but he doesn't get caught in it, and instead Sire player actually gets the opening kill onto B-Dog, which is the jet player from Luminosity. Sire here gets the opportunity to throw in the paint shell straight afterwards, which is going to cause a lot of splash damage, and then he can just leave and go to the other side of the Cosmic Divide. Now, the frustrating thing here is that they've just invested the Viper's Pit on top of the Cosmic Divide as well, and you might think at first glance, okay, this is great because it means that it's going to conceal more line of sight and they have a much safer opportunity to plant. But that's not actually the case, because that also means that the defenders can kind of move around as they please without the attackers seeing it either. So as Sire player is sitting up here in Heaven, he basically has an advantage because he can take in shots as and when he likes to areas that he thinks there will be players occupying, and also doing something like throwing in the paint shell where the attackers aren't actually necessarily going to see where that is going to land. All they have to rely on is sound cues. So the next thing that we're going to see them do is throw in that recon dart to the back site. That's going to let them know if there are any defenders occupying that area. It's also really important because they know there are going to be defenders over on the B site who will be rotating back through onto A. So to catch them coming in through connector will be really important. As it stands though, the recon dart doesn't actually find anything, and thus they invest the Seekers. The problem that we have at this point is that Luminosity have invested so much into trying to create this safe space to plant in, and still haven't committed to a plant. However, the Guard are now holding more site control than they were at the beginning of this execute. We have Sire player still safely up in Heaven. We have Jonah, who's now come in from connector and is holding the back site. We still have that presence from Moose in the Viper's Pit, and that of course means that the Guard are holding on to U-Haul. So the only portion of this site that LG are holding on to is bathroom and that bottom corner, which is information that the Guard know, and they can pretty much throw anything in. There's very little that LG can do at this point. And this is exactly why we see Tig die to that fragment from KO, because it's so easy for Guard to read where these positions are. What we have now is Sire player being able to take a lot of shots into the Viper's Pit through those wall bangable surfaces to basically deny any opportunity to plant. You don't want to be planting if there's an operator that's shooting straight at you. So what ends up happening after this is the Cosmic Divide goes down, and suddenly a lot of that safety that Luminosity were relying upon is no longer there. So they know the only utility they really have to play off at this point is their Viper's Wall that they have over towards A long. So they need to aggro their way to that side of the site if they have any hopes of getting a plant down. Marta leads in with the Hawk with the hope that he and Dazzle will be able to push into the defender's Viper's Pit together and hopefully create some kind of pinch onto that Viper, because that's going to give them the control of U-Haul, of the plant side, and it's going to make that Viper's Pit go down. That would give Luminosity a lot of space. However, they don't actually find anyone, and while Marta decides to try and hold the angle onto the rest of the site, Net is able to commute over, come around behind him. He doesn't even actually land the kill. It's actually Valen who gets that kill from the other side of the site, working very closely with Jonah, who's been providing a lot of these assists by using the daggers. At this point, Luminosity find themselves kind of stuck in that same position where they only occupy a very narrow portion of the site. There's basically no time remaining. Dazzle is trying to hold U-Haul, see what kills he can get. He manages to get a singular kill, but at this point, there's just really nothing that he can do, and he just is looking for those exit frags more than anything. So it's a really expensive round in terms of utility for Luminosity, and they really invested in trying to have this space that they were locking down so they could get a plant, but they actually didn't have any opportunity to get a plant whatsoever. So the next round that I wanted to look at is the following round, round number 24, and in this one, Luminosity do manage to get the plant down, but the guard's post plant is too effective for them, and overtime is kicked off straight off the back of this. So the only ults that we actually have on the board right now are Defender ultimates, and that's the Showstopper as well as the Cosmic Divide. Now the thing you have to bear in mind with this is the Showstopper is on the complete opposite side of the map to where the attackers are looking to encroach, so that's definitely not going to be something that comes out at least immediately. However, there's nothing to stop the Cosmic Divide from being used to try and prevent this attacker push, especially given the fact that they don't really have anything to use in return. Pretty standard so far. They're using the same Viper's Wall that they have done in a lot of these A pushes. They put down the Poison Orb in the entrance to U-Haul, which is going to push Astra out the back of it. So they've gained some control in this part of the site. Once they actually raise the Nebulas in the middle of the site as well, this is looking okay for Luminosity. They've managed to cut off a decent amount of the area that they need. However, of course, a lot of that control can be immediately taken away the second that the Cosmic Divide is popped. The way that it's positioned just means that that default plant spot is going to be on the opposite side of it, and LG is still going to have to fight in the disadvantageous position to be able to hold that control. They do, as it stands, have bathroom control, as they have their Viper playing over there, so the line of sight that can be held across the map is still available. However, consider the position of Sire Player. He has been playing over on the top of B long towards Garden, and this is why we were saying that the Showstopper is not immediately available to the defense, but he can easily teleport over to the A side and potentially provide pressure onto that Viper, which is going to mitigate the bathroom control that LG currently hold. You do actually see the Jet move a little bit over towards bathroom. She's going to have the easiest time getting out of that position if it's too pressurizing, but it does provide the extra support to try and get those lines of sight onto the backside where the defenders are playing from. And that's definitely going to help facilitate a plant. As it stands, there's not really that much. There's a direct threat onto Dazzle to prevent him from getting a plant down. So as the plant is going down, Sire Player does in fact come through the teleport with the Showstopper popped. He doesn't entirely know where these enemies may be. You can see him looking around a little bit, but the Snakebite gets placed in bathroom so that the Viper can move out of the danger zone, let's say, and potentially hold Sire Player back. The problem with this situation, though, is it kind of forces Jet and Viper into this really awkward, trapped area right outside of bathroom. Maybe they avoided the Showstopper, but with Sire Player just jumping over the Snakebite, he now has that control. They're shoved into this corner, unable to really move across the site because they're going to be crossing too many crossfires. And with Mana in the center of the site as well, it's just so easy for Jonah to land a dagger right there to be able to suppress any of those abilities that could be used against them, such as, of course, the Hawks. What this basically means is that there is kind of nothing that LG can do to be able to stop that aggression being used against them in those difficult positions that they find them in. They would really need something to block their line of sight, such as flashes, to be able to get out of that situation. So they managed to kill the Viper, they kill off the Sky, they know that B-Dog is just stuck in this corner, and they don't even really need to show themselves to him to be a big risk because they have all of this splash projectile utility. Throw in a shock dart, throw in a fragment, you're going to deal so much damage onto him, and he has to be looking towards bathrooms because they know that Sire Player is coming through there. And basically, that kind of just means that B-Dog is doomed. It doesn't take long for him to be brought down. He doesn't even need to see Sire Player. The paint shell finishes him up, and LG really just falls to bits. The game went on to be a 17-15 game to the Guard, and immediately following that, they went into Icebox for their second map, where the Guard won 13-10. So even though LG fought pretty valiantly, it just wasn't enough in the end. And I have to say that these defenses from the Guard really impressed me. The way that they were just able to constantly out-util and out-position Luminosity. I think one of the really big problems that LG had was that they used a lot more utility earlier in the round than the Guard did. So when you looked at the availability of that utility for LG to use against the guard later on, when these post plants were relevant, or when these site executes were relevant, they just simply didn't have as much to use against them. That's why in that last round, we see so many projectiles that can just be used against this one person. The guard don't need to take unnecessarily risky positions because they have the utility to deal with it. I hope you guys found this video interesting and I hope you enjoyed. I'm really interested to know your thoughts on these teams or any of the teams in NAVCT at the moment. I will be doing watch parties for as much of it as I possibly can. So make sure you come along to my Twitch channel to catch those. It's really fun and I'm going to try and keep up with the content for this region. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching and I will catch you next time. Go follow my Twitch. Go follow me.